Welcome to Recall the Midwife podcast, where we watch episodes of Call the Midwife and discuss. Today, we are doing a series 4 recap. My name's Alex.
I'm Becky.
I'm Jen, and I don't have our usual disclaimer today, but just to say that we're going to be recapping the episode with, selected quotes, and so various issues from the season may come up. So if there's anything that you might not want to listen to, feel free to skip this one and join us for the next one. But we do hope you stay, because I tried to pick good quotes that weren't about really sad things.
If you don't like awesome podcasts, this isn't for you. What a loser. Carry on.
Okay, girls. So listen, I have again exhaustively searched each episode of the season, including the Christmas special, to come up with fun and interesting and obscure, hopefully, so quotes to tickle your brains and create some fun banter about the season. So as usual, I'm going to give you a quote, and then you guys have to tell me who said it and the context. Okay,
we can do this, Bex. We can do it.
Yeah. We can't be any worse than season 3.
No, we were terrible. Honestly, it's like we've never watched it.
I piloted a new method for quote collation, and I think this is going to be the way I'm going to go forward. We'll test it out today, but we'll see how we do. But I think it's going to be better this time. So here we go. I should think that fibrous pottage you call Allbrand would repel them more.
Systematic
think. Yeah, I was going to say Sister Monica Jane.
Exactly right. And who is she speaking to and about what?
Is it Evangelina?
Yes.
Is it the morning? Is it the morning that Barbara was due to arrive?
Yes. So Sister Monica Joan is trying to do the same thing to Barbara that she did to Jenny, and Sister Evangelina is really mad at her, and she's like taking the cake away. And then and then Sister Evangelina says something, and she said, well, I should think that fibrous pottage you call Allbrand would repel them even more, because Sister Evangelina was like, oh, you make them like a whole cake, and then you blame it on them, and then makes them not want to work here, basically, because you have this whole
shame them on their first day.
Yes, exactly.
Barbara's only been in this season. It's like I've always known her.
I know. Well, whenever I watch these back, I'm always like, they got here then. They did this then. Like, I always can't believe it. It's really wild. Okay, second quote. You cannot launder woolens using an electrical apparatus. The fibers will become disordered, and the very essence of the garment is lost.
Is that Sister Monica Joan again, isn't it?
No.
It is.
Oh.
Sorry. Oh, I was going to give you a second, Bex. But do you guys know what she's talking about?
Washing machines.
Yes. We're a real brain trust.
Wasn't there somebody that was saying that?
The mother of the twins.
Yeah, and
they were cold feet. April and Terence's mum.
And she was talking about her flat and how it's even got a washing machine.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so this stemmed from Sheila was at the oh God, what is it called? The clinic, and she was doing a mother and baby class, and it was all about formula. And she was talking to them about condensed milk versus, formula and everything, and trying to get them to go to formula.
And there's carnation.
Yeah, and the moms were like, oh, well, blah, and they're like putting all this stuff. And then I can't remember her name, but the Jamaican mother who's having the twins, she says that, she has a washer and dryer at her place that she got because she spent like the new baby money that the government gave them. And, she's like, I got the same as everybody else. Like, this is how I decided to spend it, And then they're all like, oh, well, like, but aren't you so fancy? Blah, 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 blah. They're giving her a hard time. And so then they're talking about a washer and dryer back in Nonatus when they're having lunch. And Sister Monica Joan is just incensed about it.
And I tell you what, if I had to deal with nappies back in the 1950s, I would totally have a washer dryer as well. Can you imagine doing those?
1,000.
Well, my mum had them in the 80s, had 2 kids in the 80s. Well, 79 and 81. But she said that she had like a vat of disgusting, like, this to put the nappies, like, and I just can't. She used to say that to me whenever I had a nappy. I was a bit like, well, what do you want me to do? Like,
well, and she had cloth diapers too, which is
they were
so wild.
Yeah, terry ones, terry toweling.
Yeah. Oh my lord. Well, I lived in New York for a long number of years, and so I had always had to take my laundry out to the laundromat and drag it there up and down the stairs and pay the money and then wash it and then wait and see if there was a machine that I could use and then and everything like that. And now I have a washing machine and dryer in my house, and I have to tell you, it is the height of luxury for me. I never take it for granted. I never I always just kind of like, oh, I'm so glad. And like, it's so I mean, I'm totally with you, Bex. Like if I went from not having it to having it, which I effectively did.
Yeah.
Oh God, it's
Yeah,
just
but do
so
you not
hard.
remember at uni we used to have to do it, and it was like we'd all
I
forget, and then
know.
like we'd have to do. We were like, oh no, there's no clothes left, and then we'd be there for like
We
hours.
spent many an hour, Jen, in the laundrette together, didn't we? Because
We
I would pop in
did.
the washing.
I know. You were so sweet about it. I know. I like doing laundry. It's one of the household chores I actually do like to do.
I hate it, and it's the only, and I have to. I'm the only one who does it.
Oh, I just think I compare it to like a lot of other stuff and I mean like in terms of like cleaning things and like dusting and dishwashing and vacuuming and everything, I just don't. I'd take laundry any day.
I hate it
Um
all. I'm not meant for this life. I'm meant to be an aristocrat.
You absolutely are not.
I
Yeah,
know, I
absolutely,
know.
I'm not. I'd hate my friends I was hanging around with.
You want
I just
everyone,
want to be, waited on hand and foot. That's all
yeah, but not have any snottiness or anything like that or any.
around me. I'd be like, get away from me.
Okay. Well, so we got that one very quickly. That was good. Okay. All right, next quote. I hope this is a safe place to park. I don't want any footballs through my windscreen.
It's Nurse Crane because she's the only one with a car.
Yes, yes.
Blood
And
deduction there.
Did Nurse Crane only come in this series?
she did. She
Oh
did.
my God, she's another one.
I
Her and
know.
Barbara.
I know. Barbara came in episode 1 and Nurse Crane came in episode 2.
Oh
Yeah,
my
and I did.
goodness, yeah, because I forgot Barbara lived there before her.
Yeah, and I had picked it as a quote, but I didn't put it in because we talked about it in the episode. But right after she says that, Barbara's kind of standing there because she's the one that answered the door when she came, and Barbara says, "Oh, good morning," and she says, "Oh, don't say good morning.
No, she says hello,
Say
hello.
yeah, oh, hello," and she says, "Say good morning or good afternoon or good evening." She's like, you can only say hello if you're common or maybe American, I guess, or something like that. And I just thought that was really funny. But I was like, yeah, Americans, okay, yeah. But we had already chatted about that one, so I didn't want to give it away again. Yeah, Nurse Crane, she's here. She's doing it. Okay. Now this is a little bit more obscure. Okay. Quite. Period. And now it's time for me to share my good fortune.
Ooh, is it that man who what was his name? Who he kept calling
Sister,
Sister Julianne
Sister
Louise
Julian's
lover,
Sister
old
Julian's
lover.
sweetheart.
And who's that man?
What's his name?
Is it Richard? No, it is Charles.
Yes?
Oh, we can do this, Bex. You can't. I'm gonna have to do it on my own.
I can't.
It's not Goldworthy. Charles. Oh, give us a clue with what it starts with.
Um,
Does it begin with A?
no.
Great.
Okay, the Nonata's house has one of these right behind it in the back. And
School.
where was Sister Julian when she got the news of this man?
Garden.
There we go. Charles blank
Guard.
garden.
Gardener.
No,
No.
it's something not Ho. I'm thinking of the beer Ho Garden.
Happy blank year.
New Garden.
New Garden. There we go. Charles Newgarden. Yeah. So this was when this was at the first time he met with Sister Julian when Sister Winifred was with them. And she was like, "Oh, this is such a nice place. Like, oh, do you have anything to eat? Like, I'd love a cup of tea." Like, da, da, da. And he was like, "Yeah, quite." And then he was
And then
like,
she didn't get a drop scones. I've still not got over that.
No, and I wouldn't if I was Sister Winifred.
No.
just never get over it.
Poor Sister Winifred was just clueless in that episode.
I
She's
felt
kind
for
it's funny because like this whole season, her whole vibe is very clueless. Like she doesn't really kind of quote get serious until later on. I mean, she has moments where she's, you know, doing
She
good
did
things,
do
but
that whole campaign for the prostitutes, didn't she?
oh,
she
that's
did.
true.
Oh, that was
That's
shit, and that
true.
was dead good, and totally
Yeah.
out of her comfort zone as well.
Yeah. I don't think that was this season though.
Oh, was it not?
Maybe it was. I don't remember it.
Maybe
It
it's,
was.
to be
But
honest, they all just merge into one for me.
I
Well, you
know
say
it's
that, but
hard.
then like it seems ages ago since Barbara and Nurse Crane joined. So
I know. I know. It's
And
like
now,
it's like they're old friends.
whenever I see those characters in other programs, I'm just like, oh, it's Barbara.
I know.
well, we watch Ghosts, don't we, Bex?
Yeah.
The
I've
comedy.
watched it as well. I've seen all of them.
Oh, yeah, and she's in that, and I'm just like Barbara.
Oh,
And Alex, you won't watch this. Jen, have you watched You on Netflix?
yes. I haven't.
Barbara is in the latest series.
She
Yeah,
is
I
in the
keep being
latest
told
series.
to watch that, and I will. I just mean, will I
I
like
haven't
it?
I haven't
I don't
watched
think you
the
will.
Oh, I'm not going to watch it then.
Well, you might. Well, I don't know. Sometimes you surprise me with
The
things.
thing is, it's not gory or anything, so I don't think you would like dislike it for that reason.
I think it would just annoy you.
Right.
But I
What
would
can I
just give
say? I've got my idiosyncrasies, everyone.
just give it a try and see what you think. Like start from the beginning because that's kind of you do need a little bit of a backstory.
Yeah.
Did you think the third season was good?
No.
Okay, fair.
I just think it's gone too far now.
Well, it's like how many times can you do what that guy does before it's like
Yeah.
enough's enough? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
This is a
and-
Call the Midwife podcast. Let's get back to
Sorry,
it, please.
Focus.
well, if anyone hasn't seen that show, we haven't spoiled anything, so at least that's good. Okay, next quote. After all, what is love if it cannot be acknowledged?
What is love?
Maybe don't
Do
me.
you know, just weirdly, someone at work said they were born to that song. Like their mum was literally pushing her out, and I was just like, "How old are you? 10?" Anyway, that was by the by. I think it was old Jenny Lee who said
Okay,
it.
that's not right. But also, What Is Love came out a long time ago. That movie is like the Night of the Roxbury is at least from the 1990s, like late 1990s. I bet you that person did get pushed out by that song and be old enough to work in your office. They're not.
No, but I just didn't realize how. It's just like, oh, mine was
it's
like Brotherhood of Man or something.
Well, it's like how we always think that like everything happened like 5 or 10 years ago, and then it turned out it really happened like 20 years ago. And it's like then we just feel like we're literally about to jump in a grave, basically, because it's like we're so old.
But back on track, girls.
Yes, back on track. Who said it?
Is it Delia and Patsy?
No.
Oh,
So it's not old Jenny Lee, right? Is
No.
it Sister Julianne?
Yes. But
I just
what
did a punch in the air.
I know you did.
Was it when she was with Charles Newgarden?
She was not with him.
She wrote to him.
No.
He wrote to her and she read it out.
No.
Say the quote again.
After all, what is love if it cannot be acknowledged?
Is it when she was talking to Tom in the garden when she got the news?
Yes, you are exactly right. And I picked this quote because it has two meanings. So Tom comes to her because he's talking to her about, again, I apologize, I can't remember the couple's name, but they're the Jamaican family who have the twins and one twin is stillborn.
Oh, you're obsessed with that couple today.
Was she called Clarice?
Well, he was called
like
Terry Jr. because you said that because it was like baby.
Yeah, he was Terrence.
Yeah, I can't remember now. But anyways, Tom is coming and talking to Sister Juliet, and he's like, well, I want to do a service and some kind of a burial for the baby because I feel like we need to have to, kind of like recognize what's happened to this family so that they can process it. But at the same time, after he's rifled through her mail, he gives her the letter from Charles Newgarden, and then she is thinking about Charles.
Abigail Bissett.
There we go. And then she's thinking about Charles and like their history, which is very complicated. We all remember. And then she says, after all, what is love if it cannot be acknowledged? Because she could really not acknowledge, like her and Charles couldn't really acknowledge their love for each other. And then but she's talking about this baby that's passed, which is also a love that kind of needs to be acknowledged in order for some healing to happen. And it was just so multi-layered, that line, and I just loved it.
Well, we say it every week, but amazing writing always.
I know.
That's why we love the show so much.
Just the script does so much work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It just, I obviously don't know, but I have to think that for the people who are in the show, that level of writing really does help them as well. So, impacts them or whatever. So,
anyway. Well, when we get some of the actors on the podcast, we can ask those questions.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and also when we go and do our compline
cameos.
Yeah,
when we have our cameo as the extra nuns.
The problem is if we actually do that compline thing, as if we ever will, but if we actually did do that, I'd just be there doing many looks to the camera, like, hooray! Can you imagine?
You know what my worry about doing that is, like, again, like it's gonna happen, but I'm like, oh my god, what if they put the wimple on me and then it makes me have a double chin?
That's not a worry of mine. That's just, I know that's gonna happen.
Well, but, I know it would happen too, but I'm like, oh, how could I like not accentuate it so that I don't have my double chin hanging down?
Should we do some contouring, Jen? Practice.
We'll tape it up, Jen.
I know. I'm gonna have to use like a Kim Kardashian trick or something to like give me a more like snatched neckline or whatever.
I'm just gonna have to be CGI'd for it not to. Anyway, carry on.
They'll do as good of a job on you as they've done on Chummy. Okay. Okay, next quote. Here we go. Some of these quotes are serious, and I have to have like a serious voice. Okay. He said it made him feel sad, the way she looks down, like she don't really want to be there. But the painter, well, he's sort of making her be there on account of how she's so beautiful.
Now, I think this is someone, I know who it is.
Okay.
It was Richard Fleischman's wife, Maria. It's his parlor, and he has this painting that she doesn't understand, but she explains what he told her about it. Marie.
Yes, Alex.
And Richard Fleischman is who?
Oh, sorry, her husband. So Tony. She's Marie. He's Tony.
There you go. There you
Yes.
go. There you go. Yeah, there you go. Very, very good. Well, it's so funny because this quote, like, as when I was watching this episode for in preparation for recording the show when we talked about it originally, I had kind of forgotten the storyline a little bit, so I didn't know. And then as soon as Marie kind of walks in and she's like, "Oh, this is his pride and joy. He loves the living room. He decorated the whole house and everything."
Parlor.
And yeah, parlor. And then he's like, "Oh, and look at this painting. Like, this is what he said about it." And she's like, "I don't even know how you can get all of that from a painting." And I was like, "Oh, honey, your husband is a huge homosexual. Like, I don't even know what the storyline is." Like,
I just really loved Marie's voice. So I remember that quote because I really liked her voice. It was really calming. She had quite a high voice. Don't know if anyone's noticed, but I've got quite a high voice. But
did you feel an affinity to her?
I did feel an affinity to her. And she was like, "It just looks like he's got." And I just really liked it. I really liked her voice. If you're listening, Marie the actor, you're brilliant.
Yeah, no, she's really good. And also, I picked this one out because, again, as I was thinking back, this line as well is doing a lot of work because he said it made him feel sad because she doesn't really want to be there. But the painter, who thinks she's so beautiful, is making her be there.
Oh.
And isn't that such a summation of the Tony and Marie relationship as well?
Oh,
like,
Jen, that was good.
Right? Like, Marie loves Tony so much. She's pinned everything on Tony. He has to be there.
I don't know why we're giving you the credit here. It's obviously the writers who thought of that.
It's not me at all. It's not me at all. I haven't literally done absolutely nothing, but I'm just saying, I mean, are you just not like fainting at this? Oh, I don't know. It's just like,
well, this is why we do this. It's multi-layered. There's things
I
that
know.
you think, you give us, I think of stuff, you think of stuff, Bex think, it's just other people.
I just agree when you two say
it. Well, it's just, there's a lot of joy to be had from going back to something you enjoyed the first time and getting something fresh and different from it the second time. And that can be a book, a movie, a TV show, a song. You know, how many times you listen to songs like over and over again in your life and you're just like, "Oh my God, it's hitting me all over again." It's like, that is really what art is about, like, I'm not going to go on a whole big thing, but like, to me, that is what real artistic, talent is anyway. So all right. Well, here we go. Okay. And quite frankly, it will make a glorious change from giving enemas.
Trixie?
Yes, but what did she say this about?
No idea. It just sounded just like her. Hang on. It will make a glorious change from giving enemas. So it's something else. Is it something the other end of the body?
No, just let's think about this logically. What happens during the series that causes her to say that?
Loads of stuff, but
I don't know if this is a hint that you will understand, but I will say the quotes are done chronologically or like linear throughout the series. So I haven't like jumbled them around.
Right. So it's right after Richard Fleischman.
That doesn't help us. We've no idea what.
We've got no idea, Jen.
Even though we've just watched them all.
What happens in the episode with Richard Fleischman with Tony?
Oh, I've no idea. He gets.
Al, you have a very strong connection to this storyline.
He tries to gas himself in the car, but I mean, that's not.
Why can I not think of this? Hang
on.
What
is the storyline in this episode that you are now very connected with, Al?
I know exactly what this is. This is Rose Queen.
There we go.
He's taken over the Rose Queen. Actually, on that, I sent it to YouTube, but I'll say it, announce it to the nation. So many people watch it, listening.
Our international audience.
Yeah. All the details of the Rose Queen fate and everything has been released to the village, and they've all got a village. They've got like village booklets and stuff, and there's a page with like all their photos on, and she's so proud of it. She keeps looking at it. And it says, Rose Queen.
Alex's daughter is the fairy queen in her local Rose Queen.
Yeah, fairy queen. Sorry, I keep saying Rose Queen.
Celebration. She may be the Rose Queen one day. You never know. Something to aspire to.
Well, that's the plan. She's decided, but she keeps getting annoyed at me because I keep singing "Long live the fairy queen." The fairy queen. She keeps getting really annoyed at me.
If you raise a pageant queen daughter, I will absolutely fall over.
So will I. That's not happening.
I just can't. I mean, of all the people to have a girl that goes into that. But this is when Tom is talking about the Rose Queen, and he's like, "Oh, I just inherited this job from like whoever, and I really need a lot of help. Would you mind helping me?" And at first he thinks she's gonna say no, and then she's like, "No, I would love to do it. It
I
will
don't
make
know
it
how
more."
that shows you how little he knew her that he thought she'd say no to that.
I know. They're love them both, but God, just a really bad match. Okay. All right. Next quote. Best advice I ever received. When in the path of an unstoppable force, it's always best to surrender.
Fred.
No.
Nurse
Does sound like the
Crane.
kind of thing he'd say.
Yes.
It was
It's
Nurse
Nurse
Crane.
Crane. And who did she say that about and to what and why and all that?
Oh, you're really testing us here.
I think, did she say it about was it the episode where her and Sister Evangelina kind of clashed?
There was clashing, but not with Sister Evangelina.
Oh,
The Board of Health.
Yes!
yes,
Very
well
good.
done, Bex.
Yes.
I've never have got that in a million years.
So Nurse Crane and Dr. Turner and I think it was I can't remember who else, somebody else, maybe Patsy. They all went to deliver this Irish mother's baby, but it was in a mother and baby like hostel essentially. And the kids were there. They hadn't eaten in so long. This place was absolutely disgustingly filthy, and they were just
Oh, and
incensed
she had
by
those
it.
she had those knickers that she'd made herself out of a sack, didn't
Out of a
she?
sack. Yeah, I mean,
And the guy from the board had a baby called Keith.
yes, exactly. And this is actually so Nurse Crane and Dr. Turner kind of get him to do something like fumigate the place and do some other stuff like that in the first time they meet him. And Nurse Crane like really advocates in this amazing way. And Dr. Turner gives like this very like affectionate look of, fellow compatriotism or whatever as they like fight, the man together. And then they turn up outside the mother and baby home. No, I shouldn't say mother and baby home. It's like a women's hostel as it's being fumigated. And they're like, okay, well, this is great. But like, what about the family that we told you about? They need to be reunited. They need a council flat. They need like da da da. And he's like, well, but surely you can't expect me to do that. And then Nurse Crane is like, the best advice I ever received when in the path of an unstoppable force, it's always best to surrender. Meaning like, you don't even know what you're in for. So don't even get in my way. Just do what I want now, buddy. And Dr. Turner just gives her this like look and it's just so good. It's just so good. Okay, next quote. Sometimes I wonder what the last two wars were for. In that respect, every time the world goes up in flames, they draft women in to pick up the slack. Then once it's over, it's back in your box and don't say boo.
This is Sister Evangelina.
No.
Nurse Crane.
Oh,
Yes.
Oof, just stole
So
it out from you.
sure.
Do you guys know when she says this?
Is it to do? No, I don't. If I'm honest, Specs.
I can picture it. They're all sat around the table.
Yeah, but why are they annoyed about something about women?
Can you say the quote again, please, Jen?
Sure. I sometimes wonder what the last two wars were for in that respect. Every time the world goes up in flames, they draft women in to pick up the slack. Then, once it's over, it's back in your box and don't say boo.
Is it to do with the Robins, baby?
Which one's the Robins?
The Robins with the rope factory, and the dad was all saying he wanted a son.
Yes.
Well
so
done, Alex.
there we go. So this is actually what Phyllis says after they're like sitting around in the lounge, the kind of the lounge area and everything. And it's Phyllis and Trixie and Nurse Mount. And I do think either Sister Julianne or Sister Evangelina, I mean, they're all kind of around there. And Trixie's like, well, I don't understand what the problem is. Like, boy or a girl, like men and women are equal. And then Trixie says, I don't think women are equal. I think they're better. And then everyone kind of
Patsy
is
said
like,
that.
Sorry, Patsy says that. You're right. And then Phyllis earlier, she says something like, oh, well, the gender of that baby was decided months ago, so I don't know why she's fretting about it now. And then she says, well, I sometimes wonder what the last two wars were for in that respect because, like this and everything. And it's just kind of this like very like a little bit of like a women's lib kind of conversation that they have. And Phyllis is exactly right. Like, no wonder women are just like, no, I don't want to go back to that life again. I'm not having it. So
look at that scene when one of my favorite scenes when Sister Evangelina teaches Fred to drive the moped.
It's very much like that. Yeah. Okay. Next quote. We need someone female, Fred, and preferably alive.
No, I know exactly what this is.
Oh,
this
okay.
is when they are talking about the Saletti lady, and I don't know her name.
Yes.
But
Josie. Oh no, Josie was the one who they found. Yes.
And this is where we first come upon Mrs. G's shop.
Yes.
Because he refers to, I think it's the person who ran the shop before Mrs. G.
Yeah.
Who died. Mrs. G took on the shop, but he's basically saying that his he married. Did he marry a Saletti lady, or was
He was Saletti.
he was Saletti? So his daughter could translate.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and his daughter was Josie.
And it's Mrs. Khan who's the Saletti lady, and then Mr. Suleiman is the one who was the Saletti speaking gentleman that was Josie's father. Yes.
And this is where Fred was sat in his vest in the yard, and they were all sat around in deck chairs eating ice cream.
Oh, that was one of my favourite scenes ever.
And Bex thought he looked, pretty jacked up, and yeah, she was
It
like,
did for a second.
"Oh, goodness gracious, the sleeves, the guns are
I'm not
out."
gonna lie. No offense to Cliff Rizzy, we know you listen. But yeah, not saying you're not attractive. You are. Everyone is in their own way. Oh, that's what it sounds even worse, isn't it?
Right, let's move on or edit this.
Yeah.
Everyone is gorgeous. We love them all. Okay. Speaking entirely from my own experience is that when somebody thinks the worst of a person because of their background, such a lot can be lost.
I know whether this is Bex.
Right. I think it's Nurse Crane.
Yes.
And it's when she's talking, and again, all right, I'm not going to know anyone's name. It's the awful, well, he's not awful, but it's the awful diabetic girl.
Paulette.
Yep.
Paulette. Who and he's the wrong un.
Yeah.
The wrong un. Yes.
Yeah. And Nurse Crane tells him that when she was brought up, she was the wrong un as well.
Yeah.
And we never knew what happened with this storyline, although I like to think it worked out and the judge looked favourably upon him.
I hope so.
Even though I think probably realistically he threw the book at him.
Yeah, let's be honest.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, like, and again, I'm just gonna go on about this, but like one thing that's I like about doing this job for the recap is that, when you're watching the episode, like sometimes individual lines can kind of get grouped, mentally into kind of this whole scene, and then you kind of, you're hearing it all, you're taking it all in, but you're not really thinking, as deeply. And this line, it in many ways it's kind of obvious, but I don't know. I don't know. It just hit me when I heard her saying it again. Like, and I just.
Do I get an extra point for remembering his name?
Yes, of course.
Vaughan.
I mean, we're not keeping score of points, or
no, we're not. I don't know why I said that.
All,
but it is Vaughan.
That's definitely 1,000 points to Alex for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Just a good reminder. You know what I mean? Like, don't think the worst of people. You never know what you might lose because you don't give them credit for anything.
And actually, I think Vaughan was the better half of that pair.
Oh, the better 2/3, like the better 3/4. She was awful.
Paulette sucked. Okay. All right. Okay, here we go. I don't mind telling you my heart sank when I was told I was nursing her. Thank goodness I am used to the vow of obedience.
Oh, it's Sister Evangelina. Sorry,
yeah,
Alex.
It's fine.
Who's she talking about?
Joan.
Yeah, because they're sewing the labels onto Tim's school outfits because Sheila finally broke down in a fit of, just like burnt out momness and said,
instead of actually helping her, Dr. Turner just got the nuns to help.
He was like, "You've got to ask for help," and she's like, "Well, Patrick," and he's like, "No, maybe I'm not helping you do everything, but ask other people to help you. You really, really need to. It's very important." And she's like, "Oh God." Yeah, and then they go on and this is also the conversation where Sister Evangelina says, like, the joy of midwifery never dims, and then Sister Winifred kind of gives like, she's like, does it? Oh, I don't know about that. And so maybe we're potentially seeing a path forward for Sister Winifred. Okay, next quote. "I brought us a bottle of bourbon. It's sort of American Scotch."
Well, I'm guessing this is Trixie.
No, I think I know who it is. It's Chummy.
Nope.
Oh, damn it. Patsy?
No.
Delia.
We're just naming names now.
That's fine. We'll just carry on. Tom.
Oh no, is it Delia? When she comes
Delia.
Yeah.
Delia.
So actually, by naming names, I got it right. So
well, eventually, yes, that is how it will work. Yes, that's exactly a good strategy for that. So this is the scene where they're going to the jamboree. They Trixie has the poodle skirt on and everything, and then and I actually
the poodles on, yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And I was really curious to rewatch this one because I hadn't gotten the scene where they're so mean to Phyllis, kind of behind her back, and kind of looking at people's facial expressions. And Barbara did genuinely seem guilty because she was like, she's like, "Oh, I've got a cream soda here if you want to share." And Phyllis was like, "Oh, thanks. Yeah, I might. I'm driving tonight, so da da da." And Barbara's like, she really has that, like, I feel bad. But I had never thought of bourbon as just American Scotch, and I love, like, the fact that that's such a novelty. So
Yeah, but that's what it is over here. That's what we say. Like it's American. Like yeah.
Really? That's just you call it American Scotch.
No, we call it bourbon, but the point is,
Oh,
it's like it's the American version of like against the Scottish or Irish.
right. Okay. Yeah. I love them
Is
both.
Scotch just whiskey?
Scottish or Irish. I just yeah.
No, but the Scotch.
Scotch and whiskey are not the same thing, right? Scotch is Scotch and whiskey is whiskey. Is that right?
So what's the difference? I don't know what's the difference.
Yeah. All right. Next quote. We are not
It
defined.
genuinely is just whiskey. Carry on.
Okay. We are not defined by the things that make us separate and distinct, but by the moments that we share and the memories that we make.
Say again.
We are not defined by the things that make us separate and distinct, but by the moments that we share and the memories that we make.
I think it's old Jenny Lee.
Very good. It is old
It
Jenny.
sounds, but what's she talking about?
Jenny,
No
mature.
bloody clue.
Well, this is vague, and so I mean, like her summations at the beginning and the end are always kind of like not really specific in a way that you could remember. But this is the episode where we have the Traveler family, the Irish Travelers,
Oh, so we're talking about the differences in cultures.
and Pegina and everything like that. And so there's all this, there's all this kind of dynamic of like, the Poplar residents and the Travelers and how they different, from each other. And it's like, move along, we don't want you here, and like all of that kind of thing like that. And I was just, I don't know, I just really loved it when Mature Jenny says this, and I thought it was so sweet. And it was right after the scene where Cynthia had gotten the china teacup from, was it Brigida or Brigina?
Brigine.
Yeah.
Brigine, yeah. And then she was like, well, I really can't take this because I'm not allowed to have possessions and everything. She's like, well, why don't you just say you're borrowing it? And then, we'll get it back from you later, kind of a thing. She's like, okay. And then
it's early on in her career to be bending the rules like that, I think.
she's like,
Yeah,
well,
she's doing
okay.
it now. She's just going to be a hoarder by the time she's been doing it 30 years.
I know. She's gonna just have so much stuff. But yeah, I just thought that was, I just liked when Mature Jenny said that. I just thought it was so sweet. And her voice is so pretty. And anyways, okay. Nobody's perfect. Love makes us that way, but you have to open your heart to them first.
That sounds like something old Jenny would say, but she didn't. That look on your face.
Nope, this is not old Jenny, but I will say it's a person who is older.
So is it Sister Monica Jane?
No, it's not.
Oh,
Julianne.
Sister Angelina. Julianne.
It's not anyone in a religious order.
Oh, go on.
You both say that.
Like, is it to do with Fred and Vat? Oh, I know, it's Gert Mills or Tom. The husband, Tommy.
It's Tom. It's Tommy. He's talking to Fred because Fred goes to Tommy and he says, "Oh, I'm really worried. Like Violet still has all these photos up of her husband. She still loves him. Like he's perfect. How am I supposed to compete with perfect?" And then Tommy, beautiful Tommy, says, "Nobody's perfect. Love makes us that way, but you have to open your heart to them first." And I just absolutely like.
It's a gorgeous line, but it's not true that love makes you perfect because I am not perfect.
They're saying it makes you perfect in their eyes.
Yes, exactly.
I'm pretty sure I'm not perfect in his eyes, if I'm honest, and he's definitely not in mine.
As the only married person on this podcast, you paint at times a very bleak picture of romantic life.
Welcome to marriage. Bleak. Anyway, next one.
There, I can't imagine you or your husband ever saying anything like that to anyone. So in all fairness. Okay. And I know you both have a wonderful marriage and have very happy and all that.
It doesn't matter, Jen. You don't even have to say that as a you don't even have to say that. He doesn't even edit it anymore. So don't worry. Let's just slag him off. Should we do that next episode?
He doesn't even listen.
He doesn't listen, no, does he, Al?
No, because he's not a supportive husband. He doesn't listen to the podcast.
To be fair, he did sort of but he doesn't listen to it. He doesn't like Call The Midwife. I know.
Oh God. Yeah. No. Okay. Anyways. Okay, here we go. Next quote. We go through what we go through together. We live for one another. Be with me as long as ever you can, please.
Oh, this is Gert and Tommy when Gert's not well and Tommy's like, because she always says, "Oh, I thought that." Does she say I would be the one to go first?
No, she wanted Tommy to go first. She was gonna.
She wanted Tommy to go first, yeah.
And normally everyone's like, "Oh, I don't want to live without him," but she's like,
"Yeah, but she thinks he couldn't live without her." Like doing everything
he is
for him.
Incontinent. So fair dues.
To be fair, I actually think the same way. I don't think he can live without me.
No.
Also, it
All
did
right.
it sounded like lyrics from a Eurovision song. I loved it.
It does.
It's fully immersed in the Eurovision bubble.
By the time this airs, I'll have been.
I know. Girls,
I think you'll have combusted.
I will have. I will have.
I love Tommy and Gert. I could have put all their quotes in here. They're just so good.
I love him. I love him so much, especially Tommy. And also, that was his last thing he ever did.
I know. What a way to go out. He just on a high, like just truly immortalized forever as like the sweetest man.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Next quote. Not strictly, but it embarrasses you, and that keeps us entertained.
Is it something to do with Timothy?
Yes.
Oh, that was a complete guess. Oh, them being
It's
snogging.
yeah, it's Sheila and Dr. Turner snogging.
What?
I just love the term snogging. I just think it's so funny in relation to them because, like, I mean, those two like always are just kind of like they do kiss each other, but it's like they just kind of like Dr. Turner just like grabs her by the shoulders and then just kind of like mushes their like lips together, and it's not like, to me it's not a romantic kiss at all, but like literally anytime they touch each other, Tim is just like, oh my gosh, like the mushy stuff. Blech. Like he's just so like grossed
It's
out
the
by them.
1950s. She's a former nun. That's as good as you're gonna get.
I know. Well, also it's just your parents. Like no one wants to see their parents doing anything. So it just like he walks in on them, and they're like kissing each other for some reason, who knows? And he's just like, "Oh my God, can you please stop?" And she's like, "Well, not strictly." Or he says like, "Can't you just stop?" Like he's like, what does he say? He's like, "Aren't you like?" What does he say to them? He says something like, I can't remember how he says it, but then Sheila says, "Not strictly, but it embarrasses you and then keeps us entertained." So, he says, "Do you have to do that?" And she says, "No, we don't have to, but we want to because it makes you like red in the face." So we think it's really funny.
Oh.
Okay, next quote. "If I was a woman, we wouldn't be engaged."
Oh,
Fred and Violet G.
Yes.
Only because Trixie and Tom are no longer engaged.
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
But do you remember anything else about why he says this?
No, if I was a woman.
Oh, wait, we can get this. If I were a woman, we wouldn't be engaged. Is it to do with him working in the shop? No, I've got no idea.
Okay, so
I
this
will
is
know once you say.
Oh, I've got loads of friends. Is that the
What?
one? Or I've got loads of friends. I don't need another friend. I want a missus or something.
no.
Oh.
So this is when
Is it when they're talking about the CDC?
no.
No.
I keep
We both got that excited.
I keep trying to tell you, and you both are like, "Wait a minute, I have it." And I'm like, "No, you don't have it." So this is when they're walking to Nonata's house, and Violet has the dahlias.
Dahlias, yeah.
Dahlias
Dahlias.
and dahlias. Yes, I will honor the dahlia pronunciation. And so she says something, and she's like, "I don't know. Do you think they're too much?" And he's like, "No, I think it's fine. Like they're flowers, whatever." And she's like, "I know, but I don't want to, like overstage things or whatever." And he's like, "I really don't think you have to worry about it." And she's like, "Well, if you were a woman, you'd understand." And he goes, "Well, if I was a woman, we wouldn't be engaged." And then she starts to laugh, and then they go,
and
fast
Violet-
forward to 2023, they might be.
Violet's worried that they're extravagant. And then I do think it's out of character of Sister Julienne to answer the door and just be like, "Oh, how extravagant."
Yeah, very much.
Yeah, she always is trying to set people at ease. Okay. Okay. "Sometimes it's hard to distinguish between ends and beginnings. Conclusions do not always hurt, and starting afresh may not feel entirely happy. Letting go brings peace and turns the tide towards the future."
Oh, Jenny.
Now, this is old Jenny.
Well, mature
Me
Jenny,
straight away.
mature Jenny. We have to start calling her mature Jenny.
But
Oh,
what is
and-
she talking about?
She's
what
talking
is she?
about was it when Trixie went to the AA and like all the stuff that happened in that episode?
No.
Oh.
Well, yes, it is. It is. It is when she goes to AA. Yes, it is. But it's not about that specifically, maybe. But I mean, I guess you could say it is in the
That's
sense
all I need to say on that.
So this is mature Jenny, but her voiceover starts as Chummy is scattering her mom's ashes into the Thames River. Yeah, and
The green screen.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just a lot in this episode about like starting afresh because Fred and Violet get married, but then also Chummy losing her mom, and that's over. And then
I was
Trixie,
gonna say Fred and Violet getting married.
Yeah. And then Trixie goes into AA, which is like a huge change. So like a new step, but like also really painful in a lot of ways. Patsy and Delia like are separated because Delia's had that, horrible car accident and everything. So this just speaks to like a lot of the storylines and everything. But I don't know. I mean, to me, this is another Call the Midwife quote, kind of like the Sister Julienne, you know exactly where you're going and you don't need anyone to like get you there or whatever, where I'm just like, oh my God, I want to put this on like a greeting card and like frame it or something like that in my
Or a
house.
t-shirt.
Or a t-shirt. Or a t-shirt. I mean, it's a long quote for a t-shirt. It's like 3 lines, but oh man.
Well, do you know what? Remind me of this after. We'll put it on. Yeah, anyway, carry on.
Well, also, okay, like personal on a side note, like you guys know this about me, but our listeners won't. But like I am very active in a meditation practice, and I, attend meditation like weekly gatherings and everything like that with a sangha that I'm a member of here where I live. And so obviously, as that practice talks a lot about letting go and peace and kind of like accepting things for how they are and not wishing them to be different and everything. And so this whole quote really spoke to me on a personal level, but the last line where it says letting go brings peace and turns the tide towards the future. So I don't know, that was very resonant for me. And like again, like Vanessa Redgrave just has a beautiful voice, and so kind of just hearing her say it at the end, like, oh, man, it just sent me again. I just can't. So anyways, okay, next quote. You'll have more luck with a horse and winch from down the dockyard.
That sounds like something Fred would say.
It does, but it wasn't.
A horse and witch from down the dockyard.
No. Winch. W-I-N-C-H.
It's some weird superstition, like a quote, like a thing that people used to say.
No.
Horse and winch from down the dockyard.
Down
so pulling something along
from down the dockyard. Yes.
I don't know what accent that was, Jen.
It wasn't an accent. It was.
I'm insulted.
It wasn't a British accent. It was just some weird thing that came out of me. I don't attribute it to anything.
You're right. It was not a British accent.
No, I never said it was. I do a lot of weird voices.
Bex, have you got any idea?
I'm thinking you'd do better with a horse and winch from down the dockyard.
You'll have
Is it something to do with the Christmas tree or?
Not a Christmas tree.
What's big and heavy that they're moving around?
Well, there you go. That's a very good question.
Here it is. Why can I not think of anything?
Who might be sensitive about how large they are?
A pregnant woman.
Yes.
Which pregnant woman? Why I can't remember one pregnant woman.
So I don't think that this is I don't remember this is not like a big storyline, but there is a pregnant woman who is like really getting ready to give birth and everything like that, and she's really far along, and she comes into the clinic for a checkup, and she's with her mother, and she says something about like, oh, I just want to get this over with or whatever, and she's like, well, we'll try to do it as fast as we can, but she's like,
when she's trying to get on the table, isn't it?
Yeah, and she's like, and she's like, and she's like, well, just see if you can like put your bum on the table, and then we'll like help scoot you up.
And then everything. A water's break. It's the niece. Do you remember
Rosemary?
Yes,
Iris's niece.
Because her aunt's with her, not her mum. Her mum's up west getting the pushchair for the twins.
Okay, I have to tell you, I'm sorry to say this, I do not remember which pregnant lady it is, but her water breaks as they are like trying to like get her onto the table, and she's saying like, "Oh, I'm so big, you'll have more luck with a horse and a winch."
So, or if you like Fred, talk about stuff like this, horse and a witch. Yeah,
just your average.
Well,
horse
I thought they were talking about moving Nurse Crane's car or something, but they were actually talking about a pregnant lady.
That shows how respectful we are, Bex. We're not there talking about pregnant women like that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Okay, now you guys both are going to know exactly who this is. I don't. I've no pride and no shame when it comes to confectionery. You should try one.
Oh, Barbara.
Sister Monica. Oh. It's Barbara.
Well, we talked about this like a week ago when we did our Christmas show.
I couldn't remember the no pride bit.
I know. And I have to tell you, like, we all love Barbara, like we are like Barbara stands like to the end of the earth. But the thing is, like, this line absolutely made me fall so hard for her. Like, I like love her so much. This is a girl after my own heart. I have never met a sweet thing I do not like. She just like, I have no pride and no shame when it comes to confectionery. That's what I want on a t-shirt. Like, I need a t-shirt that says that. Like, give me a keychain, give me a mug. I mean, I'm here for it. That is exactly how I have felt since a birth. And she just was my ultimate soulmate when she said that. And then she makes Tom eat a sherbet lolly as well. And then he falls a little bit in love with Barbara too. So
he does.
Mm-hmm.
Tina's feeling terrible at that point, but they fell in love, so that's fine.
Yeah, Tina has a life-threatening illness, but as long as these two people can like make a connection, then that's okay. Well, and I love how when Tom comes on the bus, he has this massive jar of sweets and everything, and he's like, "Oh, just he's like, "Oh, do you want a thing?" And she's like, "No, Tina doesn't feel good." And he's like, "Okay, well, anyways, do you want one? Like, how are you doing?" And she's like, "Yeah, actually, I do. Thank you." And then she reaches in and grabs it, and it's very good.
Love her, love her, love her.
Okay, so this is the last quote. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think I can get through this without a boost to my kinetic energy.
Oh.
Who is it?
Well, I think it's Sister Monica Jane, but I'm probably wrong.
Guess that for like every single one. Monica Jones.
Kinetic energy, a boost to my kinetic energy. This sounds like someone who's a bit new agey.
That's not an affirmative in any direction.
Is it the stage director? No.
Oh, for the
no.
for the BBC show? No, it's not. It's not that guy.
Boost to my kinetic energy. Who else is that?
Is it Delia getting on the bike? No.
No.
Is it? It's not a regular character, is it?
No, it's a series regular. Yeah.
Oh, that just sounds like a new age hippie.
Who kind of loves to articulate themselves and like sound smart and use grown-up words and stuff like that?
Not us, we're just sitting here dumb. I've not had a thought in my head.
Trixie.
No.
Oh my God, I've got literally no idea.
Same. Hang on, we can do this back.
This is great listening.
Yeah. Boost to my kinetic energy.
Here, let me do a different line reading, see if I can kind of intone something different.
Okay.
I don't think I can get through this without a boost to my kinetic energy.
No, not helps at all.
It's Nurse Crane.
No.
Oh, I thought if I said it as if I knew.
Is it someone who lives in an artist house?
No, it's not.
It's Peter.
Peter isn't even in this episode. Tim, there you go.
Oh, there we go.
You know when he says this?
Is he playing the piano?
Yes.
So Mrs. Willens is there, and she's supposed to be signing everyone up for the Christmas concert, like the choir.
She gives him a gypsy cream.
Yes, and he comes in and he says, "Oh, I don't think I can get through this without a boost to my kinetic energy." And Sheila's like, "No, you can't have anything. Those are for everyone after they've like registered." And then she walks away, and then Mrs. Willens goes, "Oh, go on, like grab one before everything gets started." And he's like, "Oh, thank you so much." And it's just this really, really cute moment. But like just this teenager like walking in, just being like, I don't think I can get through this without a boost to my kinetic energy. Like both like grumpy and then also like trying to be a show off by saying like a big word. I just thought was so funny.
Well, also that made me fall in love with Iris Willens because she was just so lovely.
Yeah.
Like, yes, grab a gypsy cream quick.
I know.
It also made me think Sheila was way too harsh on a growing boy.
She is. Yeah, Sheila's really tough. But yeah, that's all of our quotes. We did it all.
Oh, well done, Jen.
Well done, Jen. Not so well done us, Bex.
And well done if you're still listening, because all you've listened to is us randomly naming characters.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I hope
all beaten us.
Well, I'm sure our audience has done very, very well on this quiz and everything. I will say I had more picked out, but as I was going through them, I realized we had actually talked about a lot of them in the episodes because they were just such good lines. And so I tried to pick, then extras and everything.
We're just so thorough.
We
I
are.
have to say though, I wouldn't have probably got them even though we've discussed them before.
Yeah, you literally didn't on the Barbara one.
Yeah, I know, but I just we say it every time. I've already said it multiple times this episode. Just I love the good writing. I mean, the acting is off the charts. Everyone is such a good actor on the show, but these scripts just absolutely always floor me. And sometimes it's not even like the lines are pretty simple, but just the eloquence with which they're delivered,
it's also like women talking to women about women, older women. It's not something you see all the time, the dialogue. That's why I was saying about Happy Valley being popular, but it's women talking to women. It's not usual. It's and these women aren't objectified like in other shows. And
Yeah,
I just love it. I love it. It's about actual real women's relationships. And season
it
four
is.
was a really, I just called it season like an American. Series
Oh,
four was
We've been
so
doing that
good.
for a while, I've noticed.
I have, haven't I? But yeah, series four was amazing because it had Barbara and Nurse Crane, which are two of my
Yeah.
favourites, and
mm-hmm,
Patsy all together. And I
mm-hmm,
just, oh,
mm-hmm.
it's just getting better as it gets older.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, like, okay, we've all watched like all the shows out there and everything. Men having conversations is fine too. Nothing wrong with that. But a lot of times, a lot of those stories are about doing a thing or accomplishing a thing or discovering a thing or, making something happen or whatever, because it's about politics or science or, like business or, whatever like that. And that's not all of what men talk about in real life. It's not. But like this show is about human beings, like the human interactions that we have when we're not discovering something or finding something or advocating for something or making our business or being whatever. It's like these are the conversations we have when we're at home, we have when we're talking about our future and our past and our families and how to raise our kids and like all of that kind of stuff. And those are, for lots of reasons, traditionally a more female centered space. And like that's not the kind of conversations that like in society, especially in pop culture, we hear a lot of. And that is what we need to be seeing modeled. Like that is the kind of like example that we should be watching and kind of internalizing as we like go through our day and things. And that's what this show offers. And I do think it's just really vitally important. And so yes, to your point, I 1000% agree. Love it.
Now, on that really deep point,
I don't think it was that deep, but I mean, it's just how I feel, like,
well,
yeah,
no, same.
like,
But
wait, actually, sorry, just a really quick. Tommy and Fred having that conversation, that absolutely blew my mind because two men talking about love and relationships and how to be a good partner and how to like get over yourself so that you can actually move your relationship forward and like find something new with someone you love. Like that is a really powerful conversation, and I don't see a lot of that between men like in popular culture. Also, earlier in the episode, I'm not going to remember his name, but like Dr. Turner goes to talk to the rope guy who like really wanted to sex and he had a dog.
Robbins,
Yeah,
Mr.
Robbins,
Robbins.
yeah. And he goes and talks to him about, no, you have to let go of this promise you made yourself to your dead brother and father because you were trying to reconcile like some weird guilt that you had around the grief that you were feeling at their loss. And now you're putting it on your wife and your kid, and nobody needs to be suffering that way. And by the way, least of all you. And that was two men having that conversation. Like that is like that's the kind of stuff men need to be talking to each other about. So like yes, I mean the women's conversations are mind-blowing and I absolutely just like love them and like die for them every single episode. But I'm just saying like just people being people and relating to each other as human beings is so powerful. So anyway, sorry, I apologize. I'm always on my soapbox, but I just can't help myself with this show.
It is. I'm just going to stand aside here that I do prefer the women. Anyway, so now just been talking about something quite deep. But now I'm going to go on to something that was on Facebook. Now
Okay.
Sherry Vokes, we love you, Sherry. Sherry is a
I
massive
love Sherry.
advocate for
Yeah,
Recall the Midwife. She talks about us all the time. She's there recommending us. We love you, Sherry.
Gold
honestly.
star listener. Gold
Yeah.
star listener.
But she has done an amazing. She literally put this on Facebook today, and I thought I'm going to have to say this in the podcast. So this is what she's talking about. You wondered about tripe. She says, I've seen it in larger grocery stores here in Canada, all the way from Canada, Sherry. I love it. But I don't think it's popular. My friend years ago would make a soup from it. She was Scottish and grew up with it. Tripe, onions, milk, potatoes, butter. I remember she had to boil the tripe, change the water, boil, change. Bleh. Lots of work. I guess it was okay. I didn't hate it, didn't love it either. I hope she's not reading this, Sherry, or listening to this. Very nutritious from what I understood and cheap to make, which was why it was popular in the Call the Midwife era. You buy it all neat and clean and packaged these days, but my friend remembers her mum in Scotland years ago with a huge sheet of it on the kitchen table, having to cut it up all herself. There you go.
I love it. I mean, Sherry, like this is the kind of experience and information we need. Yes, our listeners are so amazing. They give us these gold mines every time.
They are. I'm with Cara Nicole, perfectly on time for my hour drive home today. This is my favourite podcast to listen to whilst driving.
Oh, thank you.
You would say it's your favourite podcast to do anything.
I know. I'm not going to lie, girls. I can't believe we've got more than 3 listeners. Us, like genuinely.
It's honestly one of the most complimentary things I have ever experienced in my whole life. I am like so beyond flattered that anyone thinks we're interesting or funny or worth spending their time on. I am so deeply touched by it.
Actually, on that, Sarah Hancock, I hope you're still listening. She was like, they Google a bit too much. We are actually going to totally try.
We are working on this. We are working on this.
Dead space when we're just Googling stuff. But we do try and research beforehand, but then we can't remember stuff and then we have to look it up. Or we look up things we have no idea about, like the Boer War.
And I gotta be honest with you, Sarah, I'm never gonna know about it.
I mean, there's a lot of references in this podcast to us going, oh, that person or somebody or something. My favourite bit of feedback we had was that person who just went, nah, not for me.
And you know what? That's okay. Not
it is, but you don't need to put it on the
everybody.
internet. If you don't like it, you don't have to write a review. Not for me. Well, great. Just don't listen. You don't have to voice it everywhere. Turn it off, mate.
Just like tripe. It's not for me, but no one has to know that. I just can go on living my life without it, and no one is the wiser.
It's true though.
Not for me. That had to be a British person. That just had to be a British person. That's such a British way to say it.
How to feel about that? Anyway, just on the point about listeners, I remember the first week. Do you remember the first week I uploaded it and we had like 3 listens, which was us? And then literally, I remember texting you both, being like, "We've had 25 listens."
I know. We flipped out. I was like,
yeah.
I couldn't believe it. Yep.
And now look at us trying to get in Compline. Still nowhere nearer to it, to be honest, than when we were 25 listens, but still.
I'd like to think spiritually and energetically we're a lot closer than we were before, so that's how I'm going to take it.
I'm going to start a recall for Compline. But what's that, Beck?
We just need to manifest it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
I'm literally not
recall
trying to
for Compline
in my life, but
well, maybe you should start hashtag recall for Compline.
Yeah, maybe we can like crash the set one day and like just steal some nun costumes from wardrobe and then just like go there, like like kind of like how they do in like movies.
I don't think planning a crime months in advance is good for number 1, evidence for courts, and number 2, the fact that they might be onto us.
I have actually watched so they've been filming outside my office.
Are you serious?
Yeah, so just I don't know what this show is. It's not
Called The Midwife. It's not Called The Midwife.
I was like, what? I'm mentioning this now.
Filming outside my office. No, I don't know. It's some sort of crime drama because they've turned an office building into a police station. But I've been watching it. So I feel as if now I know the inner workings of an extra. Because they literally do the same thing over and over again.
I can easily do that. I do it every week on this.
And even though you don't think they're in shot, then they do another setup. And then in the other setup, they're in shot.
Which would be me overacting, singing in the background.
If you work for Call The Midwife, I'm just saying, I feel like I have experience there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we follow that experience. Hashtag recall for Compline.
Yeah.
Anyway, next week, ladies, we are going to be doing the listeners special. Becky is going to be drinking Horlicks live on the podcast, whilst also trying a rusk. Edge of your seat stuff.
Yeah.
But if that doesn't entice viewers, what will?
I don't know what will entice viewers exactly. Listeners, I don't know what it will.
Listeners, no one's watching us.
I want to be.
Well, if they
I
are,
want to have
worrying.
to listen to drink something.
You can have rusks.
Okay.
Can you get rusks?
I think I can. I'll see if I can try to get some before we record.
What about Bonvita?
I think if they have them, they'll be at the place.
Jen should try some tripe.
Oh.
That's it.
No.
What you should do is get some tripe and put it on your kitchen table, cut it up,
and then boil it and drain the water, and then boil it again, and then drain the water again.
Yeah, with onions and butter. You're not an animal. Yeah.
I spoke up too soon. I should have just kept my mouth shut. Story of my life.
Wouldn't have a podcast. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you got to this point,
we just have a medal.
We'll see you next week. Thank you so much for listening.
See you next week, ladies.
Bye.
Bye.